play in really cultivating those partnerships. There also tends to be an unclear link to equity. And something that was so fascinating when we were working with the Frameworks Institute, they showed us this video of a group of just random people on the street, so not necessarily linked to education. And they were asked the question, when you hear the word equity, what do you think? And every single one of them said, well, I think about home equity. So the money that I have in my house. And they don't think of equity the way that probably all or most of us on this Zoom meeting think about it, where we may picture the visual of the three boys standing on the different crates trying to look at a baseball game, for example. So really trying to level the playing field and provide more opportunities for those who may not have the same opportunities as others. And then finally, a lack of understanding about the broader impacts of partnerships. So sometimes, and this is just general public. So oftentimes the general public just thinks about what is the impact for students about partnerships, and they don't take the time to necessarily think through the positive outcomes that families experience, that teachers and school staff experience, and the larger community. So as we think through the strategies that I'm about to share with you about some of the research-based best ways to communicate about partnerships, it's also important to keep these challenges in mind, because then we can sort of nip them in the bud as conversations begin. So the first recommendation that NAFSCI and the Frameworks Institute worked on, they tested a bunch of different metaphors in the field, both through surveys and through focus groups. They tested a food metaphor when trying to explain family partnerships. They tested an infrastructure metaphor, and then they tested this space launch metaphor. And hands down, when using a space launch metaphor to talk about family, school, and community partnerships, those people that were part of the study were more likely to understand the broader message around FSCP. They were more likely to act on initiatives and really try unique and different ways to partner with families. And so on the right-hand side of the screen is an example of what using a space launch metaphor may look like in a letter that a teacher sends home to families. So this was taken from a back-to-school introduction letter that a teacher sent out. And it says, as we launch into another school year, I am committed to expanding the team of dedicated specialists in our mission control room. So I have linked in this picture of a rocket ship soaring through the sky. On this image, when you receive a copy of these slides, you can click on that and it will take you to a cheat sheet about the space launch metaphor to gain more strategies. So that's one recommendation. And also just an FYI, I am only, because of time, going to be sharing about four or five recommendations. There's actually 7 recommendations of how to communicate. So again, please take the time to go to the Frameworks website to dig into this a bit more. So another recommendation is for us as leaders when communicating about partnerships to stick to the big story. So don't paint a very narrow view of what partnerships are, but really take the time to help those with whom you're communicating to really see all aspects of a partnership. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see 2 different images. So the one on the top actually illustrates the bigger picture. So it shows families, students sitting together in a room, watching a video. So that is far more descriptive of what a partnership activity looks like, as opposed to just 2, I don't know, is one a parent and one a teacher maybe? I can't tell if the woman in the leopard print is a parent or maybe a high school student, and maybe that ages me because I think people look younger than they are. But they're just sitting in the room. What are they doing? We don't know. So take the time to really, again, through words, through images, paint a bigger picture. So Kate, to answer your question, the website with the 7 recommendations is the Frameworks Institute website, which on the slide that divided this section from the previous section right after the Slido. It's linked on there. Opportunity for all is another strategy that the Frameworks Institute has tested and found to be beneficial when talking about partnerships. And the whole piece of the opportunity for all, and you're already thinking this way, honestly, the fact that so many of you talked about inclusivity on that Slido question, it's so important that when we frame family, school, and community partnerships, that we make sure that people see it includes every and all. So all stakeholders, every family, every student. And you'll see here on the right-hand side of the slide, on the top, just an excerpt from a letter that a teacher sent home to families, just saying, I'm excited to start lunch with Ms. Lynch. Parents can schedule meetings to see how their kids are doing. There's nothing wrong on the surface with that. I probably sent a letter like that home to my students' parents as well. But then compare it to the bottom that focuses more on an opportunity for all messaging. We believe all students and families should have an opportunity to engage beyond the classroom. That is why our school is partnering with Central Avenue Donuts to host Donuts and Chat events. And so thank you, Aubrey, for putting that in the chat. And so that's just a great way, a simple way to just reframe the message to include opportunity for all in your messaging. It's also so critical to provide concrete examples of what these kinds of inclusive, equitable, intentional partnership practices and initiatives look like. When I say the word practice, that's generally a one-off activity. And then when I use the word initiative, that tends to be a more ongoing, I was going to say activity, an ongoing thing that parents and teachers can work on together. And so here I wanted to highlight on the right-hand side, for the past 6 years, this will actually be year 7, the Colorado Department of Education has worked with SACPI to collect promising partnership practices. So again, surprise, surprise, this image of the 2020 PPPs, as we call them, is linked to where you can go on the CDE website to search through all 6 years, soon to be 7 years of practices. You'll also notice on there, they're divided into, they're categorized both by the essential elements of Colorado's framework, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and also by the national standards for family school partnerships, which I'm sure everybody on here is intimately familiar with. Thank you, Christine. I don't even have to prompt people in the room to put these links in the chat. I really appreciate it. And so you can see here the concrete examples that we have collected over the years of what early childhood programs, elementary, secondary, and institutes for higher education and districts are doing to partner with families and the community. And then finally, elevating the parent voice. And this it doesn't say so, and it doesn't say that this is the most impactful recommendation of framing partnerships, but I can see how it would be. And basically, when school staff and legislators and state leaders are talking about the benefits of parents, it's so much more powerful to actually have a parent delivering the message about the benefits of partnerships for parents and for family members. The research says it's more credible and convincing, and it helps people understand that engagement is both important and feasible. And I think the feasible part of that is so critical when schools, I think now during the pandemic more than ever, so much is placed on schools' plates and on districts' plates. And they need to know that they can do this. And on the right-hand side, this is just an example actually from the 2020 Promising Partnership Practices from Douglas County School District. And they have a marvelous, district level contact there who did this Conexión Connection event where they really wanted to elevate the parent voice and have bilingual parents become leaders and basically mouthpieces in the district to other families, particularly other bilingual families. And so this was a great opportunity, not just to communicate effectively and to elevate that parent voice to talk about their own experiences, but it's also a great example of PTA standard number 5 of sharing power with families. Yes, me too, Evie, me too. So Nora, how am I doing on time? Do I have like 2 minutes to go through some of these slides?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So now I want to share with you some of the current resources and initiatives that my office is leading within the Colorado Department of Education. The first is this framework. So this is a preschool through 12th grade family, school, and community partnerships framework. This was an 18-month-long project from, let's see, June of 2018 through December of 2019. And we launched this with districts actually right before the pandemic hit in January of 2020. And so CDE worked through focus groups and community conversations. We worked with families, community members, SACPI, other state leaders, district leaders, to develop both this definition of partnerships as well as this framework on the right. And what the framework really elevated, so my colleagues and I took all of the data that came in from both the surveys and focus groups and community conversations, and after triangulating all of that data, these 4 essential elements really bubbled to the top about both what district contacts said they really needed to have in place to have scalable, systemic, and sustained partnership programs. But then we were also hearing from families that these 4 elements were critical in order for them to feel welcome and valued in the school. So we made sure that basically what the districts were saying they needed matched with what the parents said either their positive experiences were or what they wished their experiences were. And the last thing I wanted, I'm a very action-oriented person. The last thing in the world that I wanted was for this to just remain a one-page document with districts and schools not using it, because that would be a waste of everybody's time. So what my colleagues and I did was we tested out and put in place 3 guiding questions under each essential element. And then we wanted to take it a step further. So I actually partnered with one of my former colleagues at Johns Hopkins University to develop a series of rubrics. And these rubrics, there's a corresponding rubric for each guiding question under each essential element. So if you do the math really quickly there, my 5-year-old niece would definitely be able to do this math quickly. She is a math whiz. There's a total of 12 rubrics there. And we recommend that teams of families, staff, community members, at the secondary level, maybe a student. So this might sound sort of like a school accountability committee, which we recommend, that they work together in rating, giving individual ratings based on those rubrics, and that this team comes together to discuss and to share what those ratings were, and then use the ratings that this team determined to then do some planning and hopefully put family, school, and community partnerships throughout their unified improvement plan. So these are images, sort of a pictorial representation of some of the resources that I just shared. And again, every single one of them is linked to where you can just go right there on the CDE website. So this, in the upper right, where on this image, that is where you can click and find the framework's user guide and the rubrics. We have them available in both English and Spanish. I also want to bring your attention to this middle icon here that says Family, School, and Community Partnerships. And that icon will take you to a brand new initiative, which I'm so excited about. that's going to be starting in August, but you can sign up now to receive more information. My colleague Lisa Steffen and I are going to be leading a monthly SAC-DAC, so School and District Accountability Committee, networking series. So every single month, we're going to be focused on a different topic. There will be Spanish language interpretation, and we're going to have an opportunity to share some of the information around that topic. So for example, I'm looking at my chart paper here. In August, we're talking about roles and responsibilities of SAC and DAC members. And then we are going to invite districts and schools to share some of the ways that they train their SAC and DAC members. And then there will be a built-in opportunity to discuss and to network with other SAC and DAC members. So if you click on that when you receive the slides, it will take you right to that page where you can sign up to receive more information. They will be occurring every month from August to May, the second Tuesday of the month from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. But again, you don't need to remember all that now. It's all right there on the website. So with that, here is my contact information. If you have any follow-up questions, I am more than happy to set up a time to meet. It's so nice that we have this technology with Zoom and with Microsoft Teams that it really bridges the distance between us in this large, beautiful state in which we live. So please feel free to follow up with any questions that you may have. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen so I can see all of your faces. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And it's good to see so many familiar faces. Karen and Evie and Michelle, Leah, I think Leah's here. I think I saw Jan's name. Did I see Jan Tanner here too? Oh yes, I see. Jan, your hair is longer from the last time I saw you. Evie, you're gonna make me cry, stop. And I did work with Joyce Epstein, the creator of the FSCP standards, that is true. So pepper me with questions. Or did I answer everything?
Just yell them out?
If you want, sure.
Okay, so talk more about this SAC-DAC training, because my DAC was looking for some training.
So I wouldn't, I'm glad you brought that up, Evie, and I wouldn't necessarily call these trainings. So there's some districts that tend to reach out more than others that do have actually more formal trainings, like Douglas County, for example. I seem to be there all the time, you know, working with some of their SAC and DAC members. Thompson is one. Englewood just asked us to do a more formal training. I would view this networking series more as an opportunity to build the capacity of SAC and DAC members, particularly the parents, and help them see that they're not alone and that schools are doing good things out there. So it's really more, think of it, Evie, as almost like an in-person promising partnership practice session throughout the year. And so the topics are roles and responsibilities, UIP, so putting FSCP on the Unified Improvement Plan, using local data is October. We're going to be talking about policy in November, team building in December. So you can see all of that on the website. And we really don't want it to be CDE centric. We really want this to be an opportunity to really highlight the good work that's going on in the field. Martha, thank you for letting me know that the site won't allow sign up. I will let my colleague know that. We just put it up yesterday. So there might be a button or something that needs to be turned on. I'm not going to pretend to know. I don't know what happens on the interwebs. Let's see, Nora, is this just a comment or is it a question?
Just a comment. You know, with National PTA, we have Schools of Excellence, and in that process, the schools kind of look at how they're accomplishing those standards for family engagement. And so that rubric seems to fit right in and would be a good tool to kind of complement that work.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up and for making that connection. And I am pushing these rubrics hard with the districts and with schools, because so Steve and I worked for 6 months or so to develop them. So like really integrating in best and promising practice around family engagement, components of what excelling partnership programs have. But we also wanted to make it very user-friendly for practitioners and for parents. And I already know there are some districts that are where their district accountability committees have a subcommittee for family engagement, and that subcommittee has already gone through the rubrics and then made recommendations to their whole DAC about what the DAC can be doing. And then I also yesterday had my monthly coffee chat meeting with the district contacts from across the state. We had 56 people in attendance yesterday at our coffee chat, and some of the district contacts there said that they're hoping to use the rubrics to better inform their policy, their district-wide family engagement policy, so that it's not, you know, just sort of the, not that there's anything wrong with the CASB policy. Oh, I have a cat here. But so that it's more tailored to the needs of the district. I'm surprised that Crowley's just making an appearance now. He tends to like to co-present with me. What else? What other questions do you have, if any?
So Darcy, so I just want to mention, because, you know, the SACs and DACs are our partners in the work that we do at our schools, and it's important that we are all working together. It's all a common goal. Part of that institute, can you speak to, you know, as far as like the pictures and how we message what partnership? I know you touched on it, but there were some other things that I thought were really interesting and that we should be keeping an eye out for when we're sending out information, whether it's on website or flyers, about what family engagement is. And
so do you want to lead with the conversation and then I'll chime in? Because I'm not sure what, I don't know what you're feeding to me.
So there was this conversation just to be mindful, you know, when we're including pictures in with our messages, that we're making sure that we're not just using those stock photos that maybe are not very diverse, that also don't really show engagement, that it's more authoritarian, you know, the school is in charge. It's not showing that there's a partnership.
Yes, so that was really powerful. So in one of the trainings, they had a whole bunch of images and we had to say what was wrong with them. And images like the one I showed with just the 2 white women in a room and you don't really know what they're doing or who they are. They had some of like students in handcuffs when, you know, talking about school discipline. And these are actual images that NAFSCI and the Frameworks Institute found schools using. I think another really, I just pulled up my notes on actually my notebook from the sessions. And one of the pieces that really resonated with me is that it is not effective. Let me repeat that. It is not effective to use crisis framing, because crisis framing does not have longevity. It is very likely that we will not sustain partnerships if we focus on, like, if we only couch family, school, and community partnerships within the urgency of COVID, for example. That will not have the lasting power past COVID than if we, you know, take a more thoughtful, like longevity, if we think longer, as opposed to just what is urgently happening right now to elevate FSCP. They also said, be honest about the problems. Like, you know, we can be honest about the impact that COVID had on partnerships, but give the audience then something to do. and be actionable. I will also say, so the way that the Frameworks Institute did the trainings for us, and Nora was there as well. I don't know if anybody else on here was in attendance, but it was 3 90-minute sessions. And so I'm excited about this. You're getting information actually before a lot of my CDE colleagues, but I have put in place another contract with NAFSC and the Frameworks Institute to put together shorter online modules for us. So they're more like 10 to 15 minute modules, like one per recommendation that I shared, one about some of the challenges around framing and communicating, and there will be follow-up activities associated with them. And so I'm hoping that those will be in place, over the summer. So I will send out a notice through SACPI and through the state PTA when those are available. Nora, was there anything else about the Reframing Institute that you wanted to share that I didn't highlight?
Yeah, I don't know, the launch metaphor, if you're going to be, using that, and just so that we're aware if the school starts using that metaphor, that we can be kind of working in tandem.
Absolutely. And I had a follow-up. So Nora mentioned the space launch metaphor again. And again, I can't stress enough that these metaphors were actually tested. So was food impactful? Was infrastructure? No, it was space launch. And so I had a debrief after the Institute with my colleagues at CDE who were in attendance, and we unanimously decided we're going all in on the space launch metaphor. And one of my colleagues actually asked a question of the experts at the Frameworks Institute and said, is it possible to oversaturate the field? Like if we start using it too much, is it going to lose its power? And the answer was no, it was quite the opposite. Because if everybody starts using it, then more and more people will start to better understand the benefits of partnerships. It will lead them to action. They'll want to get more involved because it's something that they can relate to, something that truly describes what partnerships are. Anything else?
Okay, I don't see anything else.
I don't
Thank
either.
you so much, Darcy. We really appreciate your time and sharing CDE's work on these best practices for engaging our families and our work. And we really appreciate and find value in the work on SACPI and working with the partners there. It really helps inform our work. And like I said, it's important that we're all working together on a shared goal.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nora. And I also just want to put in a plug, since I have a captive audience of, I'll call it 84 because I'm not going to count myself, but we do have the submission form now on the CDE website, and Nora, maybe you can blitz that out for the 2021 collection of promising partnership practices. So if you have examples from how your PTAs are working, or maybe some other practices of which you're aware in your schools, I would love to just be inundated with a whole bunch of practices this year. So thank you. Again, I just want to reiterate, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Talking about family, school, and community partnerships is right up there with riding my Peloton and FaceTiming with my nieces. So.
And FaceTiming with your cat. It's all good.
Yeah, well, yeah. They always have to be center of attention.
With your cat. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
So we're gonna take a short 10-minute break, and we'll return with more gift card drawing. So make sure and join us, and we'll start our business meeting.
Hey, Nora.
Yeah.
Could you possibly repeat who the first gift card winners were, because it was freezing and we didn't hear them?
Okay. Yeah, just a minute.
Thank you, ma'am.